Regular meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Compliance and Amendments Committee called to order at 4:10 on February 19th. Ms. Osprey, would you call the roll, please?
Member Nee?
Here.
Nee present. Member Washburn?
Here.
Washburn present. And Member Grant? Grant absent. You have a quorum?
Thank you. Ms. Osprey, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 2, adoption of January 15, 2013 regular meeting minutes.
Madam Chair,
Member Nee?
I move to approve.
I've reviewed them and I second the motion. Member Grant has just come.
Madam Chair.
First item. Member Nee?
Yeah, there are a couple of fixes that I have suggested. I don't think that they're enough to really hold up action on the minutes. So I would ask that the motion be to approve with the suggested edits.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I saw the edits that you have. I didn't have anything extra. I don't read quite as carefully as you do, I believe. Member Grant, did you have any edits for the January 15th minutes?
No, I didn't have
Okay.
anything. Thanks.
Are there any comments from members of the public on the minutes? Seeing none, Ms. Osprey, would you call the roll, please?
Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Grant?
Aye.
Grant, aye. And Chair Washburn?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Ms. Osprey, would you call the second item on the agenda, please?
Item number 3, adoption of November 20th, 2012 regular meeting minutes.
Okay.
Did you say November 20th?
November 20th?
Oh, okay. That's my typo then.
Oh, okay. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair.
Member Nee?
Regretfully, I'm going to move that this item be continued. There are a number of edits that I've previously suggested. None has been made, and some of those are fairly substantial. So I would like I have resubmitted the suggested edits to our administrator, and I would ask that these minutes be held continued till our next meeting.
Okay. I also have some edits, too. So,
There needs to be a second.
pardon me?
We need a second.
Oh, a second.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. So I also have some edits, and we'll compare them with yours and let Ms. Osprey know. Are there any, does the public have any comment? Okay. Ms. Osprey, would you call the roll, please?
Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Grant?
Aye.
Grant, aye. Chair Washburn?
Aye.
3 ayes.
Madam Chair, just a housekeeping item regarding those minutes on the sheet that I distributed to you and to Ms. Osbury and members of the public. There is I believe, a typographical error. It says 1/2012 regular meeting, should say 11/2012 regular meeting.
So, Member Nee, I have a question. This list, are these the edits that you had previously suggested, or are these new?
Yes,
okay.
no, these are.
All right. Ms. Osprey, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 4, adoption of May 15th, 2012 regular meeting minutes.
Ms. Osbury, I believe I gave you my suggested edits a while ago.
And they were incorporated.
Okay, thank you.
Did she say they were incorporated? Okay. I move that we accept the minutes from the adoption of the May 15, 2012 meeting minutes.
Second.
Are there any comments from the public on this? Any members, any? Okay. Ms. Osbury, would you call the roll on this item, please?
Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Grant?
Aye.
Grant, aye. Chair Washburn?
Aye.
You have 3 ayes.
So it looks like we have the November minutes, and then we'll have this meeting's minutes for the next member of the Compliance and Amendments Committee. Ms. Osbury, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 5, file number 12013, hearing on the status of order of determination of William Clark against Howard Lazar, Arts Commission for not approving documents of expenses charged to the Street Artist Program, fiscal year 2010-2012.
All right, I see that both parties are present, so the complainant, you have 5 minutes.
I don't know if I have to rehash what this was about, but...
If you would, please.
Okay. If you may recall, I asked for a breakdown of what the cost between the City Attorney's Office and the Arts Commission for the year 2010, 2011 were, and I asked basically to have some description of what was discussed between the Street Arts Program, the Arts Commission, and the City Attorney. And all I received was, at that time, a 6-month breakdown of what the staff Sunshine what they spent on Sunshine, but not with the city attorney. And I also received a copy of the billing timeline, which the city attorney sent the Arts Commission. And in that timeline, it had listed a number of things, some of which were Sunshine related and some of which weren't Sunshine related. And I argued that all the items that were Sunshine related or Public Request Brown Act related were not appropriate, because all it listed was Public Request Brown Act, and I stated that didn't tell me what I was asking for. I was asking for some sort of description of what was actually discussed, and I said if there was a Brown Act or a Sunshine request to either have a case number or something there so I could know what these things were about, because as you know, we've been charged $20,000 that year for city attorney's costs, and I want to verify whether or not these are legitimate costs, whether or not these are the city attorney has given the Art Commission more advice than is necessary, and so I asked for a further detail of all of these items, especially the Sunshine and Public Brown Act ones, and even the other ones, because they were so vague. One said other, and the others said phone call, and I felt that wasn't descriptive enough for us to verify whether these are legitimate costs that are being charged the Street Artist Program. I just want to go quickly. So basically, it has to do with the time billing, and you asked the Arts Commission to ask the city attorney to give a little bit more detail, not to go into extreme detail, but at least explain what some of these things were, and then to come back to you or give it to me. And I didn't receive anything else. All I received was the answer that was just provided to you by the Arts Commission, and I would like to respond to the final answer that was request that was given to you just recently. And I want to point out that Ms. Patterson made a comment about there only being 5 votes on this, from the task force that passed this order of determination. I want to make you aware that that was the rule at the time. And also, I would like to inform you very quickly, and which I did the full task force, but not you, Mr. Nee, that the Art Commission, while they're objecting to the 5 votes in this case, that they have a law on the books where they made the city attorney write an ordinance, passed it through the Board of Supervisors, which states that they're only required to have 3 art commissioners vote to revoke or suspend the street artist certificate. There's 16 art commissioners, and they had the Board of Supervisors adopt an ordinance where all the revocations and suspensions are heard at the Street Arts Program Committee. There's only 5 members. It only requires 3 votes to revoke my license, and that I cannot, it even states in the ordinance, I cannot appeal that to the full Art Commission. It goes directly to Mr. Lazar. He signs off on it, and then I go to the Board of Permanent Appeals. At the present time, I'm requesting from the Art Commission change that ordinance for the very reason why you all had to change your policy to have a majority vote of all the commissioners. So I'm just saying it's very hypocritical for them to come in here and even bring up that point. What's more relevant is the issue of what information I'm getting. They're claiming an attorney-client privilege still, and as I stated, sections 21.21I and sections 27.24B, subsection III of the Sunshine Ordinance both state that any communications between the city department and the city attorney are public information, and all communications are public information, and I'm entitled to have more than what's listed on this timesheet to explain what these related costs are. I have more information statement, but I'll do it on my rebuttal.
Thank you. I see Ms. Patterson from the Arts Commission. I'm sorry. Is there anyone offering facts and evidence in support of the complainant?
Yeah, do the second ordinance. You can, like I said. Hi, Robert Clark. Yeah, I want to reiterate that the information that we are requesting under the two Section 67.21I and Section 67.24B triple I, mandate that any information dealing with the city attorney or anybody else talking to in regards to sunshine request is public information. I also want to mention that it's let me make sure I've got this correctly. There is a question of Section 67.24F, which deals with billing, and it says any billing, basically to paraphrase it, anything dealing with bills is public information. And so, we're arguing that, first of all, that this is billing, and we have a right to the information dealing with billing and why it was billed and some substantial information. Two, I want to make the statement that I believe Mr. Lazar, when he provided his handwritten log, which had mainly information dealing with the staff and what the staff was dealing with Sunshine, did have some information after we read through it, which was very difficult because it's all handwritten. There was some information that did give us information about some of the details of some of the times they met with them. And I believe that Section 912 of the California Evidence Code clearly states that when an individual gives up some substantial information dealing with the information somebody's requesting, that they, in effect, can no longer argue and defend themselves on an attorney-client privilege because they've already given some information up, and that they, in effect, have have given up their attorney-client privilege. And so I want to argue at this point that although, it's really hard for me to understand how at this point, the Art Commission is now stating that they have absolutely no other information than this one log that was presented to them. And, I just find out that's unbelievable, because if they talk to the city attorney, how do they remember? They have a list of all these things. How do they remember what they discussed with the city attorney? How do they remember what the final decisions were made? Is this all in somebody's head and they don't write this down? It seems to me that it's either incompetence or deliberate lying, or the fact is that the city attorney and the Art Commission are trying to hide information.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to offer facts and evidence in support of the complainant? Okay, seeing none, the respondent, Ms. Patterson.
Good afternoon. So we did have some procedural questions for you, which perhaps you can answer after I'm done. That seems like the right time. One was that we did notice that this was approved by 5 members, and that was less than a majority. So we weren't clear as to whether or not it was effective. And it was also along the same lines. It's also our understanding, and maybe we're wrong, is that if you have a quorum but not everyone is present, that you need a unanimous vote in order for it to be effective. So if you could clarify that after my presentation, I'd be grateful. With respect to the substance of the order, we did look into the matter, and we didn't find any provision in the Sunshine Ordinance requiring a department to request any particular level of detail in its attorney billing records sufficient to identify what specific matters were worked on by the city attorney when advising the Arts Commission on compliance with the Sunshine Ordinance. But despite that, I did make good on my promise, and I also want to note that I followed up on multiple occasions for the order of determination to make good on that promise and to expedite the request as fast as I could, and there was a significant delay in getting that order of determination. So I want it to be on the record that the Arts Commission did follow up as soon as the matter was closed at the last meeting to get an answer from Mr. Clark. So I did inquire, and they do not have additional description in their billing records. And it also should be noted that some of the billing records that are not Sunshine related are related to things like personnel matters or legal actions being taken against certain street artists, and that does fall under client privilege, as stated in the provisions that I provided in the letter. So again, to the best of our ability, we did provide Mr. Clark with all of our records related to his request. But as far as the description in the attorney billing, that is sort of beyond our control, and that's what they produce, and that's what they have. And so we regret we couldn't do more, but again, that document lies within the city attorney's office, and to the extent that we had the records available, and I also want to remind you that at the last meeting, it was discussed that while we did provide a handwritten log of our inquiries, you could look at that and sort of correlate each entry with the billing that the city attorney's office provided. So, again, we did our best to provide as much information as possible to Mr. Clark and to be forthcoming with the information. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to offer evidence and facts and evidence in support of the respondent? Seeing none, the matter is with the committee. Member Nee?
Yes. First of all, I want to respond to the question raised by Ms. Patterson and the Arts Commission regarding the procedural aspect of that led to the issuance of the order of determination. The short answer is yes. the matter was duly passed. The decision was duly passed. At the time, the task force bylaws stipulated that passage of all motions, substantive and procedural, required a majority of those present to approve. That has since been changed to the previous bylaw, which states that a majority of all members is required for passage of substantive motions. And that's it's kind of a little bit of a conundrum. I mean, there are opinions both ways on whether the task force's bylaw, majority of those present bylaw, passed muster under the city charter. There is no language in the city charter or in the Brown Act or in Robert's Rules of Order that stipulates, that clarifies whether an absentee or a vacancy counts as a member. That, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be clarified, needs to be stated one way or the other. And if it's, not just for the benefit of this task force, but for the benefit of all city advisory and policy bodies, all boards and commissions. The language of the charter should be rewritten to clarify definitively one way or the other. That said, at the time this came before the full task force, the vote was 5-3 with 2 absences, and that meant that since there was the 5 constituted the majority of those present, the matter passed. I also have a little bit of concern. The decision was reached in November, and the order of determination was not issued until February 11, and that meant that the deadline for compliance with the order of determination is today. And it seems to me that that's cutting it really fine, and I have some concerns both for the complainant and the respondent in terms of the ability to get the information in a timely manner, the ability of the respondent to comply in a timely manner. All those things come into play here. I'd like some comment from our administrator as to why it took so long after the passage of the finding of violation, why it took almost 3 months to issue the order of determination. Madam Clerk, are you, if you're swamped, if there's too much other work out there, we need to know it. The Clerk of the Board of Supervisors needs to know it, and I'd really like your input on this.
I understand your concern with the length it took to complete the order of determination.
Excuse me, microphone, please, a little louder.
Again, I said I understand your concern about the length of time it took to complete the order of determination. The order of determination was in draft form in December, and as you know, it's not only the administrator, but also the chair and the attorney who are involved in completing and drafting the final order of determination. So with that and the recess, the time when, excuse me, the Sunshine Norris Task Force was not meeting to train the current chair as far as the procedure, it might have taken a little bit longer than normal.
Thank you.
I believe Ms. Patterson had 2 questions, and Member Nee answered the first one. I wasn't quite sure what you were asking with your second question as far as numbers of members required to pass something?
I think Member Nee answered the question, but the question was along the same lines. If not all members are present and you still have a quorum, do you need a unanimous vote? But he answered the question, so.
Okay. And I just wanted to say for the record that Member Nee is right in that there is no firm language in the charter or anywhere about this issue. And this is one where actually Member Nee and I, who agree on a lot of things, ended up disagreeing. And I was one who initially, we were both on the Rules Committee, and I voted to change our earlier bylaws so that it would be something could pass if the majority of members present voted in favor of a motion. And there were some legal opinions stating that that was okay. And I decided to come down on the side of making it easier for the complainant to prevail, because I think that the main charge of this task force is to ensure that public records are available to the public and open meeting laws are such that members of the public have the greatest opportunity to voice opinions. And so that basic belief governs my votes in most cases. So, but it's true. And we were out of step with the rest of City Hall in this. Maybe not with how specific licenses for street artists are adjudicated, but certainly with everybody else. So I just wanted to, if anybody's ever listening to this tape, to let them know my 2 cents on this. But let's get back to the matter at hand. Members, do you have any questions for the parties? Member Nee?
Yeah. Mr. Clark, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Toward the back of our packet, there is a long list, handwritten, of what seems to go into pretty good detail about SAP staff hours met on sunshine requests. Only sunshine requests, I guess. So give us, in kind of a bird's eye view, if you would, what requested information have you still not received?
Well, a lot of that request, first of all, I only received the first 6 months of that when this began. I never received the second 6 months personally. I just found out this today that the other 6 months was in there. But that handwritten sheet appears to be copied from some sort of document or record or something, and it contains what the Art Commission staff time was spent on sunshine requests. It doesn't actually state coherently for me what the Art Commission discussed with the city attorney when they met with the city attorney regarding questions that obviously the Arts Commission had with the city attorney. So for me to go through that record, I can go through that and, like I said, find some portions where they state that some things in regards to their conferences with the city attorney, but it doesn't contain all of the documentation of every time that's on the billing sheet. That's on the city attorney billing sheet isn't included in that handwritten staff-related sheet. And it's very difficult for me to go through that and try and find out where the staff, in one statement it says on this date the staff did this, and then go over to the billing sheet and try and figure out, well, this particular cost was related to that particular matter. I don't know if that helps.
Somewhat. Thank you.
Ms. Patterson?
Microphone, please.
I just kind of quickly circled a couple entries in Howard's handwritten log where he does indicate, draft letter, city attorney, and the case file. So it is pretty detailed. And with regard to other matters discussed with the city attorney, this log may not include matters related to personnel issues or, again, any legal actions that are being taken against some of the street artists. That may not encompass this. This is just dedicated to Sunshine. So where he did work with the city attorney, it looks like he made a best effort to record those interactions.
Thank you. Mr. Clark? Yes.
It just showed you on that list, I believe it said the date was 1/3/11, and on the time billing sheet, there's no date of 1/3/11. There's a 1/4/11, that's the closest thing, and that's what I'm saying, that even though there are some things on there that are give me some idea of what was discussed, that when I tried to go over to the billing sheet, even though it had a certain date there, the same date didn't relate to any date on the billing sheet. So it was very confusing for me in that fashion.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Are there any other questions? Member Nee?
Yeah. Ms. Patterson, you had brought up what's required for disclosure under Sunshine, and I think there's a different interpretation that we need to bring in here. First of all, you did go into a moderate amount of, really small amount of detail in the handwritten log here. I am not sure that looking at these things, they provide the kind of detail that I would want if I were looking on such things. Also, these are hours spent on Sunshine requests. Now, in the request from Mr. Clark, it did not specify. He did not limit his request to information to be strictly on Sunshine requests. He did not even, I don't think he even said in his request he wanted billings on only Sunshine requests. What he said, and this is on packet page 26.
You have the packet?
Request for documentation of the legal service expense charged to the street artist program for the 2010-11 fiscal year, including a breakdown in the following manner: subject matter of each time you ask the city attorney for advice, date of each time you ask the city attorney for advice, amount of time associated with each time you ask the city attorney for advice, name of the attorney who talked to you each time you asked the city attorney for advice. So the advice here was not merely on Sunshine-related issues, but on all legal service expense, documentation for all legal service expense charged to the street artist program for that fiscal year. Second thing I would bring up is even when when public information that must be disclosed does not include certain kinds of information, that's not really the question, because the default is for openness. So what we need to know here is what is specifically exempted or barred from disclosure. under Section 67.24B, litigation material, it says the following are public records subject to disclosure under this ordinance. And if you look at Roman numeral 2 under that, a record previously received or created by a department in the ordinary course of business that was not attorney-client privileged when it was previously received or created. I think that's really the standard we're looking at here. Mr. Clark stated that particularly where the non-sunshine matters were concerned, he was not looking for anything that would be attorney-client privileged. He was merely looking for a description of what a given matter was about, and he does not feel that he received those, that the descriptions provided to him really met the threshold of what he was looking for. Given that, what response do you have to the concern that we have before us?
Okay, so my understanding is that he requested billing that provides further description about each item that was discussed between the city attorney and the director of the public art program, correct? That's what ultimately that's what he wants. He wants further description related to the billing. Mm-hmm. I asked the city attorney, can you provide further description on these issues, and was told that the billing document that they gave is the billing, that's what they have. And then anything else that's not sunshine related is protected under client privilege. So the Arts Commission does not have what he is looking for. We have provided everything to the best of our ability to meet his requests. Insofar as that everything that's sunshine related is there's no protection. We have to disclose it. Anything that's personnel related, anything that involves legal actions against street art, anything that falls into another category is protected under client privilege. And so all of the documentation we have that to the best of our ability met his demands were provided.
Thank you. Mr. Clark, have you been to the city attorney's office to request any of the documents that you wanted that the Arts Commission did not provide?
No, on this particular case, no. No. We had that previous case, but not on this case.
Okay. Would you be willing to do that? You've heard Ms. Patterson say they've given you everything that they have that's responsive to your requests, and there's some things that might be responsive to your request that they don't have that's resident in the city attorney's office.
Well, to be honest with you, at this time I wouldn't, because I think that I can establish that it's impossible for them to have given me everything they have, because, first of all, I didn't ask for the time billing, city attorney's time billing specifically. I asked for a breakdown. They provided me with the time billing of the city attorney. That's the only thing they provided me with. And then now she's saying that she asked the city attorney whether there was further information on the time bill, that you ordered her to do that, when that wasn't what was ordered. Of course there's nothing else on the official time billing. It's the official time billing sent by the city attorney's office. Now, I asked for the Arts Commission's records of what this was all about, and for them to sit there and say they have no records other documents or records showing what they talked to the city attorney about and what the results were and what the cost was, it's just hard for me to believe. So I would prefer not. I want to move on this further. I believe that they must. How do they know what transpired at a meeting with the city attorney if this is all the information they're providing me with and they say they have? Along with that, she just said that all the public information requests that costs are public, and that she provided me with that. She didn't provide me with any of that. All they did is provide me with the city attorney billing saying that on this date, this attorney met with the Art Commission for 2 hours and talked about sunshine requests. I got no information from them other than some information on the staff timesheet, which I can sift through and get a little bit. So I'm just confused that I don't understand how I can pay a street art certificate fee and it cost me $20,000. I hire an administrator to go to the city attorney to find out some clarification on on some legal information. I pay for his time and I pay for the city attorney's time. They sit down and talk about something, and then they tell me that they have no record of what they talked about or what the result of it was. And I'm paying $20,000. This isn't general, I've expressed this before. This isn't general fund money. This is money that I'm paying to hire them to answer city attorney, to answer legal questions to the benefit of the street artist program. I believe that the Art Commission is acting as my agent, that I pay them, and as my agent, they sit down with the city attorney to try and find out information, and then they do this. How do I know? There's no way they could write up as much money and as much billing as they can, and based on this, there's no way for me to validate what any of it means. So I mean, I know that's a long answer to your question, but I really would prefer that they be ordered to provide me with some sort of documents and and information that there's got to be a record somewhere. How do they know what any of this? Well, what I'm trying to say is, how do they know? You could pick out any one of these items on the billing sheet and say, well, what was the end result of that? How does the Art Commission benefit from a meeting with the city attorney where they sit down and talk for a half hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on sunshine, or on unrelated on sunshine, and then they turn around and say, well, we have no record of what the end result of there was, what was discussed. To me, that's like saying that's a big waste of time and my money. So I'm really frustrated, upset about the way this is going.
Thank you. I think this is to the members of the committee. I think we need to forget about the city attorney's office and their billing records. I don't think they're relevant here. I think what's relevant is, and the request was to the Arts Commission. Okay, the Arts Commission staff goes to talk to the city attorney every time, and whenever it's about the street artists program, that time is charged directly to the street artist. Their fees pay for this. So I'm looking at this as William Clark is, that the street artist staff is acting on behalf of the street artists who are paying them, actually, and the city attorney. And I think that, but I think this would be true for anything coming from the general fund, that the public has a right to know, why the money is being spent, why the hours are being billed to this program or to any agency in the city on behalf of the public. So I think the question here is this handwritten sheet, is this descriptive enough? Is this, without going into any detail, for example, about any sort of personnel matter, but would this satisfy any client who is paying legal fees? Is this, acceptable? And I really can't make that judgment. I'm not the client, I don't know, but I think the clerks, on behalf of all the street artists, are trying to find out, why so much $20,000 was spent, what it was spent for. So the question is this adequate? I don't know. They say it's not. I'm starting to think that this is a matter for, I don't know, EOT, to sit down with the parties and say, okay, Arts Commission, you serve in this role for the street artists program who are paying you, as their agent, you need to keep records in a way that's accountable. They're paying for this. But the same point could be made for any sort of record keeping in this city. And it gets frustrating, as we have found time and time again, inadequate records aren't kept, and that's a violation of the Sunshine Ordinance. Member Nee and Member Grant.
Go first.
Well, I guess the bottom line question here is there was an order of determination. So the bottom line question becomes, was the order of determination met? On balance, it appears to me it has not been. On balance, it appears to me that the information provided to Mr. Clark is really insufficient for him or anybody else to determine what really, what was discussed between the Arts Commission or the Street Arts Program and the City Attorney's Office and what the outcomes were. That's what he's looking for, and it appears to me he has not received those. Some of these, even on the handwritten part, some of these are just totally. They're totally vague. They don't really give us an idea of what's going on, of what the advice sought pertained to. So on balance, I am not convinced that the order of determination was met, and I think this needs to go back to the full task force.
Member Grant?
Excuse me, I have a cold. I think my question is for Ms. Patterson, once again, is, I look at all these notes and maybe the questions that the Clark brothers haven't been answered, but is this all the documentation that you have? So if that's the documentation that you have based upon what the order of determination was, and does it then go, unfortunately, to the city attorney? Is the city attorney, do they have more information as to the conversations? That's my question, is that if this is all the documentation that you have, you've provided them with everything you have. It may not answer the questions that the Clark brothers want, and does that answer need to come from the city attorney's office? And I understand what they're saying, and I'm listening to you, but I'm like, have you given everything? And I'm looking that you have it like written down, like item file number 10069, so it's up to the Clark brothers to refer back to that? Is that how you guys do this, or how?
I think the issue is that there's no perfect document that we can deliver to them. We've provided them, yes, it's antiquated and definitely could use improvement, but it's that program director's method of keeping track of his conversations with regard to the Sunshine Task Force, and he does document his time with the city attorney. And then the other side of that is, correlating that with the billing from the city attorney. And so there just isn't a perfect document to provide. So you're asking us to create something new.
Yeah.
And, I certainly will see if there is a way to improve systems so that we can provide that information in a more facile manner. I'm happy to ask for that, but right now, this is everything we have. And I also just want to put into perspective that the Street Artist Program has almost 400 artists, and just for you, Member Washburn, because I think that there is this prejudice against the Arts Commission that we have this really long history of being withholding and abusive to the street artists, and it just doesn't weigh against the number of complainants that appear before you on a regular basis, and what the reality is with regard to how the program runs and operates, and the general happiness of the other members. So I think that's really important, and that's not to say that, again, we're committed to open government. We're committed to answering the questions as they come up and to resolving these issues. We want to have amicable relationships with all the street artists, but I really think that you need to look at the facts with regard to the whole program and to its participation. So again, there's no perfect document here. We've given everything we can, and I will do my best to improve systems so that in the future it'll be more clear.
And can I ask you one last question? So this document, this handwritten document, this was put together to meet the requirements of the clerk?
No.
Or do you guys, each time you meet with someone, this is the handwritten?
Yeah, Howard Lazar keeps these records to log the amount of hours that he's spent. And you'll remember that Supervisor Wiener asked us to do an audit of the time that we spent doing Sunshine, and Howard spends the most time at the agency responding to Sunshine requests, all of which come from the same 3 individuals. And so he keeps records with regard to those. And we have actually created an agency-wide log that does provide more information about the Sunshine requests that do come in and that are fielded from multiple staff members. So we have improved that. So it's in an Excel document, not a handwritten document.
Got it. So I think, Chair Washburn, to your point, that it is, at this point, this is what they have, and they've given everything, but for the is that what you were saying? It's just an education training for future.
Right.
To create something that's more what the public needs.
Exactly.
I
think that, Ms. Patterson, I heard and understood what you said about that on my tenure with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, we've heard many complaints from the Clark brothers, and but what I've come to see is that, or what I understand just from doing this job for almost 5 years, is that we really only see the tip of the iceberg. And so it takes a lot of initiative and patience to make a complaint. And so a lot of people who may be having difficulty getting information don't complain. I know this from conversation I had last week with members of the public in a totally, different, it's the police department this time, and their frustrations. Okay, this was just conversations I have with friends when they say, oh, what do you do? And I tell them. So, but I think the Clark brothers, because I learned the full task meeting that they were among those who got this program started, so they feel some responsibility for it. And but still, in all, they have brought to us an important issue, which now you recognize that these handwritten notes are inadequate, and a provision of the Sunshine Ordinance says that the departments have to maintain good records, and I think part of our job is to help departments do that. So, and I think it's really critical for the street artist program, since the street artists are paying for, for these legal fees. And we've been frustrated that Mr. Lazar doesn't come to our meetings, so we haven't been able to have this discussion with him. And that's been a continual problem for the benefit of other members of the committee. So Any other comments from members?
Rebuttals?
Rebuttals? First, the respondent, Ms. Patterson.
I have nothing really further to add, but I will commit to trying to find a system that will satisfy future requests going forward. I do feel that we responded to this order of determination to the best of our ability, so yes, we did respond to the best of our ability and provided what we could, and yes, thank you.
Just for your information, I'd like to let you know, I am more than just the street artists. I am the person who started the street artists program. It was my lawyer that wrote the original legislation. I lobbied City Hall. I talked Mayor Alioto into signing it. And I don't appreciate the Arts Commission trying to portray the fact that 3 or 4 street artists are interested in finding information out as portraying us as some sort of weird people because we're interested in getting information that we're entitled to. I also have found hundreds of thousands of dollars of our finances that have been withheld from our use and are continuing to be withheld from use. And what I want to point out in this regard is that one, some of these things, since the only thing that was presented to me was the time billing thing, is when I get a category of other, then, I mean, does the art, on 72210, the category that is other, I think that I'm entitled to know what other is. I don't know. I have no idea what other is, and that I'm entitled. There must be a document or a record in the Art Commission since somebody from their staff talked to the city attorney on 72210 about, there must be a record somewhere about what that discussion was about. There's several others, several reviews, there's several phone calls. I think that they are withholding information and documentation from me to explain what these conferences were about. And all I'm asking for is not an in-depth evaluation of it, but just some description of what the term other was in reference to. So we have a way of validating whether these are really valid expenses. And in regards to all these time billings and everything with the Sunshine Request or Brown Act and everything, as I pointed out to you, that's all public information. Any communication to the city attorney about that is all public information, and there must be something written down somewhere on each and every one of those instances about what was communicated back and forth to the Arts Commission. So, I mean, if on a date of 8/24, let's say 8/24/10, 3 hours was spent with Paul Zverkowski on Sunshine Act request, there must be a record at the Arts Commission who talked to that particular individual and what they were discussing. And for them to withhold this from us, it's like I said, they could charge us any amount of money. And I believe that they are conspiring. They are working together to prevent the release of public information. The city attorney is advising them how not to release information. And I feel that, that it's important for this to be clarified so that we can find out that these are legitimate discussions going on between the two of them. Otherwise, they can be boosting the bill on every department in the city and just write down that it was a Sunshine Request, and who's going to be able to say whether it's legitimate? I really ask that you, send this back to the full task force with them, not giving me the information and the documents that I've asked for, because there's no way they can't have other records and logs or documents stating somewhere. Like I said, on that's only one instance, and there's no subject. Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay, the matter's back with the committee.
Chair Washburn, I think that, in my opinion, just listening to this, I do think that this is more of a matter of education training, creating documents that are more all-encompassing. I don't think that there is an intentional withholding by this department of certain information. So, I mean, that's my take. And I still think that, and maybe I'm new and don't know, and knowing working in big corporations, I totally can understand people writing other, and no one has ever, there's not a document that really states what that other was. It could have been something in their mind that was minutia. But for the future, I think that should be reflected, and that should not be allowed. So I think that's why I would recommend going to education and training rather than coming back to the full task force. That's kind of my take.
Well, we have to send it back to the full task force, so the full task force can send it to EOT. I believe, Member Nee, am I correct?
Well, one way or the other, it goes either in some form of motion or as part of the committee report. That's, I guess, to be decided by a vote at this point.
Would you like to make a motion? Or Member Nee?
If Member Grant would like to make a motion?
Well, I just want to clarify one thing. If I make a motion to send this to education and training, it needs to go back to the full task force first?
That's
or
what
no?
I was asking too.
Well, the motion would be to refer this to the full task force with a recommendation that fill in the blank.
Because I'd like to recommend that if they've given everything that they have right now, that this is done. I really believe that this is done, or that it would go to the city. They could then put another request in for the city attorney. Because for the records that they have, that these are all the records they have. And then I'd like to have the Arts Commission have to go to the Education and Training Committee in general, because this is just going to keep coming up for individual after individual little, each time we keep doing this, it's just going to keep coming up, rather than one big encompassing, creating documentation, creating rules that for people such as Mr. Clark that are asking for more specifics in the future, if they don't have it, then they should be referred to, an order determination should come. But right now, I feel like this is everything that they have. And I think if we send it back to the full task force and then send it back to the education training, it's kind of putting a Band-Aid on something rather than an all-encompassing thing. So that's kind of why I want to make sure that we are trying to create something that's more far-reaching. So I don't know if I so what I need to do that. That's what I want to do after all that.
Well, perhaps the motion then could be to refer to the full task force without recommendation for further referral. I understand that there might not be additional information available. I understand that in order to that some records actually had to be created in order to provide Mr. Clark with the information that he did get. However, there is also a little matter of Section 67.29-7, particularly subparagraph A. The mayor and all department heads shall maintain and preserve in a professional and businesslike manner all documents and correspondence. It seems to me that hasn't been done, and it seems to me that law has been on the books at least since 1999 and possibly going back to 1993 when the original Sunshine Ordinance was enacted. It seems to me there is violation of 67.29-7, even though that's not officially listed in the complaint. But, there's nothing to prevent us from adding that to whatever we decide should be part of the deliberations here. And there is there is a history of, of the Arts Commission and the Street Artists Program administrators not complying fully with Sunshine. And I think their feet need to be held to the fire on this. So if you wish to make a motion, I'm certainly happy to second it and talk about it. Otherwise, I do have a motion of my own.
Well, the motion that I want to make is that I would like to, what did you say? I would like to make a motion to send this back to the full task force with no referral? What I wanted.
Well, you could move to send it back to the full task force with further referral to be decided by the full task force.
So then that opens up the whole
That would open it up. Then the task force would have to decide whether the matter should be referred to the Ethics Commission or to the Education Outreach and Training Committee or to anybody. Full task force could make that decision.
So that's pretty much the only way that I could then have my motion go to create a whole new document. Like I was saying, I want it to not just be like one after another. So the Clark brothers have to keep coming back for over and over and over again. If we create a document or something, the education, that they work with the Arts Commission to create something that's satisfactory to everyone, that is a professional document that outlines everything that's been done, so that when people such as Mr. Clark come, it'll be there. And if it's not there, then they should definitely be referred back. But I don't think they've been given that. I know that there's a history, but I don't think it's just been enumerated in a way that, what is it? Because each time people want different things. So how do we create one all-encompassing document for them? And it's going to keep going back and forth. So I'm just trying to, if there's a way to alleviate that. And I don't know if there is, but that's kind of where I'm headed. So that people, I feel like, we don't want to, I don't want people to have to come here over for each little thing. I want them to have, some real sense of, they got what they wanted or they didn't. And if they didn't, there's a real reason. And it's not a misunderstanding. It's not a miscommunication. It's not, this is everything that we have. And so then that they're punished, but they don't know what it is that they're asking for exactly, because each time it's something different. So that being said, I think that means I would like this would have to be referred back to the full task force. So I'd like to make a motion that this item be referred back to the full task force with a referral to be determined by the full task force.
With further referral to be determined by the full task force.
With further referral to be determined by the full task force. Okay.
Second.
Okay, I want to say that I agree with Member Grant that I would like to see some great improvement in how things are done at the Arts Commission regarding the Street Artists Program. And the Arts Commission is in violation of 6729-7A. They have been for some time. They're not the only city department that's in violation of this. And given the unique way that the Street Artists Program is funded, I think that this would be a good opportunity for our task force to say, okay, there's some standards here. The idea is to have transparency and openness. This is what this is all about, so that the street artists don't feel that they're in the dark about how their fees are being spent, and they distrust what's happening at the Arts Commission. And there is a lot of distrust, and I think there's reason for it. If it's so opaque, what's being done. Why wouldn't there be distrust? And this is a problem across the city, and it's why we're here. So I think, I can envision this going back to the full task force, and I just don't want to see the street artists having to spend so much money on sunshine-related matters. Because what I've felt over the years of getting to know these issues is that seems like, in my mind, a giant game of keep away. And maybe it isn't intentional, but that's the effect of their poor record keeping. There's just no way of knowing, what's going on. There are hour after hour after hour of discussions between Howard Lazar and the city attorney. What are they talking about? Not in detail, but all the Clark's brothers wanted to know was, what's the subject matter? What would you put in the subject matter in if it was an email or a memo? What was it? And that's not there. And they're having to pay for every single hour. They're having to pay for it. The street artists are. That's not a good use of their money. Their fees ought to be lower, or it should be going for some sort of other benefit, a better, running of their program. So I want to see this whole thing resolved, and maybe it'll be resolved in a way that'll set some standards for the rest of the city. So, Member Nee?
I said what I have to say.
You said you were having another motion, or do you have some other ideas about this?
Well, I have some other ideas about it, but I'll bring them up at the full task force meeting.
Okay. All right. Is there any public comment on the motion? Seeing none. Ms. Osbury, would you call the roll on this?
Member Nee?
Aye.
Nee, aye. Member Grant?
Aye.
Grant, aye. Chair Washburn?
Aye.
Washburn, aye. 3 ayes.
Ms. Osbury, would you call the next item on the agenda?
Item number 6, public comment.
Is there any public comment on matters not on the agenda?
Yes, Robert Clark. I just wanted to let you know that for the last year or so, when we attempt to go to street arts committee meetings, we are told, and as some of the members here know, we have been told that we are not going to be allowed to ask questions at committee meetings. We are told we are not going to be given answers at committee meetings. This is of the Street Arts Committee. We are told that we can't have a back and forth dialogue at committee meetings when committee meetings are set by boards and commissions to do exactly that with the public. And so this is the reason why we have ended up in front of the Sunshine Task Force asking questions that should be asked at the Street Arts Program Committee level, and we should be getting those answers at the Street Arts Program Committee level. But because we have been told by the Art Commission that they refuse to answer them, they refuse to allow us to ask them, and they even have a police officer at their meetings, so if we insist too loudly, we may be arrested for disrupting the meetings. And I just want to make it clear to the task force that the type of fees that we are governed by are regulatory fees. They are held in the nature of a trust because they are only raised to keep our program self-funding, and as a result, the Art Commission has a fiduciary duty to answer all financial questions that any of the street arts have. And that is one of the problems we're having over at the Art Commission, is that the Art Commission is not acting in their fiduciary duty, which they are required by law to do, so that when we want to find out about how our finances are being
being spent, or whether they're being spent properly, or as in the case of my brother and I, in the past we found over $130,000 that were improperly used by the Street Arts program. We can't find out this information through the Art Commission, and as a matter of fact, right now we have evidence of over $200,000 in street art certificate fees that were paid in prior years, and interest that we have not been allowed to use, that was improperly put into the city's general funds, and as a result we were illegally taxed, and we're attempting to get that money back. And so I just want to let the task force know that, if the Art Commission was doing what they properly have a fiduciary duty to do, and answered their question and conducted their committee meetings properly, we wouldn't be forced to come to the Sunshine Task Force to try to get answers to these questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Robert. I'm William. Very brief. I just want to make a point to add to what Bob just said. The only reason why we're spending so much time here is because we have been told by the Arts Commission that the Street Arts Program Committee is not the appropriate place for us to inquire or ask questions and expect answers, even if they know the answers, or to have a back and forth friendly dialogue about anything in the Street Arts Program, and in particular finances. And every year the budget comes up, we wait a whole year before there's any discussion about the next year's budget. And then we get, like this year, we waited the whole year. We can have meetings every month if we want. We have them every 2 months. And we waited this year for a discussion about this year's budget, and we didn't find out until 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon that the discussion of our budget was going to be included in the discussion of the Arts Commission's budget at the Executive Committee of the Arts Commission. And we weren't even notified until like 3:17 that there was going to be a discussion of our fees being raised, and a motion to raise our fees for this year, and our fees are going to be raised to $175. So what I'm trying to say is, whenever it comes to talking about finances in our budget, the whole year goes by, and then at the very last minute when they start budget discussions, they shove our budget through this committee, and we barely get a minute or two each to discuss individual things, and then we're told at the committee level that this is not, and this is exactly what was said. The committee meetings are not an appropriate place to have these discussions. How would you feel if that was said to you? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Osbury, would you call the next item on the agenda?
Item number 7, Administrator's Report. In front of you have the Administrator's Report of 3 outstanding or pending complaints to go before the Compliance and Amendments Committee.
So these will be on next month's agenda?
They should be. The first 2 were the ones that Jerry Treat has recommended to add further detail to, and 12038 was the one that just came out of task force.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Osbury, could you call the next item on the agenda?
Item number 8, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items.
Madam Chair?
Member Nee?
Yeah. I want to announce that the Society of Professional Journalists Northern California chapter will hold its annual James Madison Awards dinner honoring champions of freedom of information and the First Amendment on Tuesday evening, March 12th at the New Delhi restaurant in San Francisco. And information is available at SPJNORCAL, that's spjnorcal.org.
Thank you. Is there anything else? No? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Without objection?